Well, because we've already done this once before. So it's not food from the future, it's just food again. But you know, food, man. I know, thank you for laughing at my out of shape elf outfit. Thank you. January 1st, the New Year's resolutions start next year, not now. So the supermarket. How many people love going to the supermarket? There's like, okay, 4, 6, what? Pick up dates? Is that where you guys go? I've heard, okay, so true story. I've heard the Cameron Village Harris Teeter is the best singles mixer on a Sunday afternoon, early evening. You're welcome, you're single. But everyone's like, yeah, look at all you making plans to go to, like, oh, look, Bob, we can go. Yeah. So, but supermarkets, one way in, one way out. It's, you know, it's like a food jail in there, right? Like you go in. How about the guy that goes in? He's got his list. He's prepared. He knows what he's going to do and what he's going to get. He's just get in, get out, right? 10 minutes later, you see this guy. I didn't know they had mesquite flavor. What is mesquite? Must be made for mosquitoes. You know, you see that guy, and then milk. Milk is probably the hardest thing to buy. That stinking expiration date. Right? Not a general idea of spring or fall or maybe this week use it. No, a date. June 24th, must use by this date. Right? How do they know this? How do they know? Like, do the cows tip them off when they're getting milked? June 24th, buddy. The guy's going, you got it. They literally brand the date right on the side of the carton. You know, have you ever had, who's dared to try milk the day after the day? Right? It scares the crap out of you, doesn't it? You're getting there, you're ready to go. Woo! It's expired. You know, whatever. And I tell you, the last thing I'll tell you about milk, and then we'll move on. We should probably even just go ahead and move on. But the last thing I will say about milk is it's the one thing that is so hard to remember the supply that you have at home. Right? You go to the store, you find the aisle for the milk. Honey, do we have milk at home? I don't know. I can't remember if we have enough or we don't have a lot. And then so you have two options. You skip it, and you think you have enough. You go home, you got the cereal bowl out, the spoon, the newspaper, if you still read the paper. You're ready to go. You go and you pick up the carton. It's too light. We're out of milk, right? But if you take the other option and buy milk and come home, and you already had enough milk, now it's a race against that expiration date. Right? You're having punch bowls of cereal. And you're inviting stray cats in off the side of the street. Hurry! Hurry! It's going to expire. Yeah. And that's why supermarkets are the worst place in the world to go to. Unless you're single and try to find a date. So, again, okay, so how many people are never coming back now? Yeah. This guy right here. All right. This guy's never coming back. So, who am I? My name's Will. I own a local marketing company called Fanbase. We're the ones that did the little funny video at the beginning. That was us going around giving gifts and client appreciation to all of our clients. I love getting to know new people. I did this last month. I had somebody come up and say that I rejected them. I'm sorry about that. I did not reject anybody, but I tell people I love meeting new people. So if you would email me and want to get together at some point in time professionally, I'm happy to do so. I'm happy to do so. So I had about a dozen people that wanted to get together, and I pushed them all off till next year. Sorry, it's fine. But feel free to contact me, and we can all set a time to go grab coffee or hang out at some point. Now, you know me, but you don't know each other. How about take a second to just introduce yourself to the person that's sitting next to you. Just take 1 second. Just tell them who you are. All right, This gets me in trouble every single time. Right? You guys talk for a second, you take long. Yes. All right, so I have big news. I have really big news. I tweeted earlier today that I had a big announcement. And the big announcement is, she said yes. Yes. I don't know why she did, it was a gamble. And earlier I wore this outfit, changed out of it, but she said yes. She's here this evening, but I promised her I would not call her out or make her feel embarrassed. But I know last time I told some of you that I was thinking about doing it, planning it, had the ring, the full 9 yards. There is an 8-minute video that we're about to watch of how I did it. So I told her I would not call her out, but I did tell her we wouldn't watch the video. No, there really is a video, but if you find me later, I can share it with you. You can just Google YouTube Will Hardison and it'll come up. But it was a wonderful, wonderful weekend. So I'm very blessed and happy that she said yes. So, fun facts about food. This is very interesting. I did some research earlier. Ripe cranberries will bounce like rubber balls. Who knew? An average ear of corn has an even number of rows, usually 16. About 70% of olive oil being sold is not actually pure olive oil. The most expensive pizza in the world costs $12,000. It takes 72 hours to make. And here we got that for this evening afterwards. It won't be here for another 3 or 4 days. Store-bought 100% real orange juice is 100% artificially flavored. And chocolate was once used as currency. Coconut water, this blows my mind, can be used as blood plasma. Right? Got a little low on blood plasma? Just inject coconut water. It works. McDonald's, here's another one, sells 75 hamburgers every second of the day. Yeah, we get it, McDonald's. You're doing very well. Ranch, okay. Ranch fans, anybody like ranch? Ranch dressing contains titanium dioxide, which is also, which is what makes it appear white. Anybody want to take a guess at what else uses this same ingredient? Sunscreen and paint. Now you're switching dressing. Guys, I think this the battery might be a little toasted in the clicker. So. Yeah. All right. Same ingredient as sunscreen and paint. All right. So, how does tonight work? Since we have a lot of new people, speakers get 5 minutes to share their stories, their passions, and about their companies. Once the speaker hits 5 minutes, they will hear a sound. This evening, it will be a giant burp sound. We might be able to cue that up. Can we cue that up real quick? Nope. All right. There you go. You got 5 minutes next time to get it ready. I think you got it. If they still haven't finished at the 5:30 mark, we do nudge up the get off the stage music. The speaker closest, I did not tell the lovely speakers this, we're going to play a game. The speaker closest to 5 minutes without going over wins absolutely nothing, but because there is food, Smithfield's this evening, everyone will probably like you a little bit more. After each speaker, we will have time for 2 questions from the audience. And, all right, rules and regulations. And then I am out of here and I will start introducing our speakers. Maybe. Please be respectful. Do not talk during presentations. This room is very, very, very hot in terms of there's a cement floor, an empty ceiling, sound bounces off of everything in here. If you were off to the side, in the back, anywhere, and you're talking, we can hear you, right? So the presenters are pouring their hearts out to you and they are giving you their passions and talking about what makes them wake up every morning, and to talk on the side of the room while they're talking is just rude. There is plenty of food. This event is all about food this evening. We have plenty of food. So when that last speaker is talking, there's no reason to get up early and stand in line. If you do so, I will personally remove you and put you back in your seat. Be social, but do it online with hashtag RTP180. And of course, leave the space like you found it. RTP is very gracious to give us this space, let us use it. So please, please, please pick up after yourselves. It does not take much to throw away trash. There's plenty of receptacles around here, so please just pick up after yourself after you're done. And I do not work for RTP. If you have an issue, maybe with the outfit, something I say, everything is unrehearsed, you can call my mother, 919-800-8677, which is actually our office line, so you can get a giant sales message, and you will end up buying a website, right? All right, so I do love a good joke. I have plenty of them this evening, like soy milk. Maybe it's just milk introducing himself in Spanish. You ever thought about that? I know I have. Whew, nailed it. All right. I was waiting for that one. And finally, I have one last slide. Nope. Yes, the art show. If you're an artist or not even an artist, there is an art show. The deadline is December 21st at 11:59 p.m. It's an RTP art show. If you work for or in the park, you can also enter. And I believe that there are cash prizes up to $1,000. So RTP is going to tweet out a link if you're interested, so follow at the RTP. Also at the Frontier, our RTP Frontier will also retweet that, so just be looking for that. If you're interested, they're going to tweet out a link. All right, Anna, if you will switch these batteries out. While I introduce our first speaker, hey DJ, how about a little music? Oh, now you play it. All right. Dr. Andrea is a public health nutrition researcher at RTI who has focused her research career for the past 15 years on expanding the understanding of hunger and the attendant programming and policy implications. Ladies and gentlemen, please give a very warm welcome to Dr. Andrea.
Tis the season. I know this isn't a very lighthearted topic, and I apologize in advance for that. Sorry. But tis the season to think about others. And for the next few minutes, let's focus on hunger in our own backyard. Do I do this to start it? Does that count into my time? Okay, perfect. Thank you.
I'm sorry. After I told you guys it was the easiest thing.
You said it was very easy. Okay, so what does hunger look like in North Carolina? This isn't what we're used to seeing, right? This is the descended, malnourished famine over on the other side of the world. But in actuality, here in North Carolina, it's looking more like this, like your children's classmates, your colleagues. And part of that is because it's very commonplace. Yeah, he just told me how easy it was. 17% of North Carolinians are hungry, so it's disproportionately high. Nationally, the rate is closer to 14%. And 1 in 4 of those are children. And in a lot of our counties, it's closer to 1 in 3. So what do they look like? Our seniors, our college students, as probably some of the professors here can talk about. Adults. And two populations, both the seniors and the college students, who are growing quite rapidly. So we asked, how are these people making it? What are they doing to get by? How are they not appearing like those folks that we saw in that first slide, those distended bellies? And so I spent a lot of time trying to understand exactly that. And we know that we have this national safety net, most of you are probably familiar with, right? Food stamps, WIC, school lunch, school breakfast, there's 17 of these programs, with 1 in 4 of our kids, or 1 in 4 of the population participating in them. And then there's a whole other set of emergency food providers, which have become less emergency-like and more chronic use. Our food pantries, our soup kitchens, our shelters. But even in spite of those things, what we've been studying for some time are those individual things that people are still forced to use because they're desperate. And we've identified about 80 of these that include the food pantries, the soup kitchens, using emergency food providers. And we say, well, why do we care? These are just prudent things. People aren't starving like that first picture. Why does it matter? I'm a public health person. And I say, well, it matters because people are having to worry about having enough food and resort to using these things, but it also matters because they expose them to this public health risk, and societal-wise, it just pays a high toll. So what are some of these things that people are doing? And what are the risks? There's nutritionally risky, diluting baby formula, over or under consumption of too many, too few calories. There's food safety risk. We have one expert here today that can talk all about this. We have physically risky things. People are living in abandoned houses to ensure that they have sufficient money for food. We have people reporting engaging in prostitution. And again, remember, 1 in 4 people are hungry. People are really struggling to make ends meet. People begging, illegal regulatory risk, financial risk, shuffling around bills, a little less obvious, but still as desperate. There's 80 of these. So what happens? How do people end up here? Why is it so commonplace? And so I had the good fortune of being able to go into the community this last year and interview people, in-depth interview, 1 to 2 hour interviews, and to ask people, how did you end up coming up with these, making these decisions, what informed them? And I just have a few quick examples. But the main themes that bubbled up probably aren't all that surprising: underemployment, unemployment, medical causes of their own or friends and family, or things that we just call kind of stubborn circumstances, prolonged circumstances that people are in situations people are either born into or come into and just really struggle financially or emotionally to move ahead. So a couple just quick examples. One person talked about cobbling together a bunch of different jobs. I painted, pressure washed, cut grass, stuff like that. Matter of fact, I have some business cards somewhere. And what constantly surfaced in these scenarios was this this resiliency grounded in faithfulness or friends and families. So in spite of this, he said, it's overwhelming, but I'm still happy. I don't want my kids to have to go through what I was going through. Another woman talked about having discovered for the first time, or realized for the first time 28 years ago, that she was hungry. And she said, I literally cried real tears. I was like, oh my God, how am I going to feed my kids? She had simultaneously lost her job, had her rent increased because of new ownership of her property, and then her partner stopped paying child support. So then she talked about her faith. That was a new theme, having worked in New Jersey for a while. I didn't hear it quite as frequently as down here in the South, of this reliance on prayer. And when I pray, it feels like just like somebody just comes and takes the burden off of me. I just feel so much better. So what can we do, right? So I like to say walk in your neighbor's shoes. A lot of groups putting out food stamp challenges. It's really meaningful and telling, and a few of you try to live on $1.50 or $2 a day. Feel like what it's like to be hungry so you can kind of better get other people's shoes. Contact your local and state representatives. We don't teach this in graduate programs enough to how to really do that, to advocate and promote not only those traditional feeding assistance programs, the food stamps, expanding them, but also those economic supports, health insurance, affordable health insurance, affordable housing, fair wages. Support local efforts. This is the one that this time of year we seem to have no problem with. Canned food drives, churches, soup kitchens, but also just think about your own local communities. Is the food affordable and accessible? And then lastly, not just now, but raising awareness, letting it be known that it is coworkers, it is colleagues, it is people next to you in church that are likely reporting worried about having sufficient food at some time during the past year. Thank you.
Questions. All right. Where's Jacob with the microphone? Jacob, both Star Wars, right? He can't leave. Hold on, boss. Let's see. Can you yell?
Yeah.
All right, he can yell right here.
So, what exactly constitutes hunger? Is it like the amount of hours a day, amount of like meals a day? And then from your experience, like coffee, how is the lab going to affect their mindfulness and a day time?
Great question. So I very loosely used the term hunger just now. So the way we typically measure it, the most accepted measure, which has all kinds of flaws we could get into sometimes, is the USDA measure of food security, which is sufficient, consistent access to balanced or high quality food without having to resort to like scavenging or those emergency programs we talked. But one of the huge things that we heard, and we want to actually put a paper together on this, is the whole stress. You know, I kept asking people, what would you do if you didn't have to worry about this anymore? How much do you need to make ends meet? If we gave you that money, what would it be like? And the number one thing folks reported was reduced stress levels.
One more, right there. Coming to you. These reindeer slippers make it tough.
Yeah. I'm a former North Carolina educator, and they consider a breakfast to be a big, huge cinnamon roll. And my kids are like, I'm not eating that. So my students come in, they're hungry. So I wanted to know what you guys are doing to help with the school lunches to improve them. And just to add on, in my neighborhood, I live in downtown Raleigh, I've had kids come up to me and ask me, do you have any canned goods? I don't have anything to eat today. Yeah.
So you're talking about part of the school breakfast program, is that they're calling the cinnamon roll? Yeah. Well, they did, what was that, 2000, Alice, 2000, and when did they do the Healthy Hunger-Free Kids Act free? 2010, they're phasing in supposedly new regulations to try to improve the quality and make it appealing. The culturally appropriate, yes, yes. USDA has gotten a lot of feedback. I know they are working on it, but yeah.
All right, thank you so much. Ooh. Love it. No, just kidding. We'll not see. All right. How about a joke? Does anybody want to hear a joke? Good joke? Yeah. All right. Why was the tomato blushing? Saw the salad dressing. Did you hear the joke? Maybe the music was a little loud for the joke. You saw the salad dressing. Thank you. The guy that said he's never coming back is clapping. Now you're trying to make up, buddy. All right. Alice Zimmerman is a professor in the Department of Nutrition and director of the Center of Health Promotion and Disease Prevention at UNC Chapel Hill. She is co-chair of the UNC Pan University theme, Food for All, Local and Global Perspectives. Current research focuses on behavioral economics, school nutrition, the interface between healthy food access and sustainable local food systems, and social entrepreneurship as an approach to addressing public health concerns. Ladies and gentlemen, please give a warm welcome to Alice Zimmerman.
a good way to start.
Alright, we're all counting against your time. Let's don't worry.
Living in fear of the giant birds, so I'm gonna do pretty good. We'll start with the heavy stuff first. Think about some of the biggest public health challenges that we face. We have economic health disparities, you just heard about that from Andrea, environmental degradation, and then obesity and chronic diseases. And behind each of these really is our food system. So there's a lot that we can do by changing our food system. But there's good news. UNC has embarked on the Food for All and University theme. We intend this to be broadly reaching into the community, not just staying with Tar Heels. Some of the themes include really looking at the university as a food system innovator, teaching and learning about food classes, the contribution of food to health promotion, food access, food justice, again, like you've heard about, and then documentation of food cultures and history. My co-chair is Marcy Cohen-Ferris, who's a historian in the anthropology area, so it's kind of a nice blend of health and culture. And things that you can do to get involved, whether you're at Tar Heel or not, working towards solving a food problem on campus or beyond, attending seminars, speaker series, we're trying to widely publicize them on our website, pitch an idea to the steering committee, we have a little bit of money. Incorporate a food focus into projects and papers, you'll see more about that. Or develop a food-related venture in this entrepreneurial spirit. I actually teach a course this coming spring called Public Health Entrepreneurship. If you're at Duke UNC State, you could take that course. And you'll hear next from some folks who got some of their ideas from that course and now have launched a successful venture. So we also have undergrad entrepreneurship classes, and they really embrace this theme with gusto. If you know Buck Gold's team, has really gotten into this. So 380 students in one course, 146 in another. And they brought in faculty like myself to make reverse pitches, which is rather than pitching your idea, you're pitching the problem, and then trying to get all these creative students to come up with solutions. You'll see a couple of those. So all the students in both of these classes worked on ventures related to addressing some of the food issues. So we have a lot of good energy out there. This is one example, looking at food waste. They came up with the name Ugly for the company, and the idea was how to work around throwing all that food away and actually putting it to good use. Another was a mobile green bus, fresh produce for all. Then getting back to the heavy stuff for a minute, a lot of my research focuses on the stroke belt, which unfortunately we live in the middle of it. Some people would say the buckle of the stroke belt. We have very high rates of heart disease. And if you've heard about the Mediterranean diet, that's one approach that really emphasizes particularly olive oil and nuts are some of the best options. I saw an ad about walnuts the other day, and it said about 3 times heart-healthy walnuts, eat heart-healthy walnuts. So the companies are building on that. The good thing about the oil is it opens up opportunities for the Southern diet. If you do use good quality oil, you can think about some of those fried foods that we love. So speaking of which, we're trying to figure out how we can spin the Southern culture towards local food and health. So as part of a big project we've done in Lenore County, we decided to take on the barbecue festival. So I just kind of made up this recipe. It's mostly Southern food. And here's a test of your barbecue knowledge. As you move further east, what happens to barbecue sauce? Vinegar. Okay. What do a lot of people put on greens, vegetables, vinegar? Okay, that's fast. So I used some Uncle Yammy's Eastern North Carolina barbecue sauce and a little bit of pulled pork. And we served it on brown rice, a little different. We were positioned in Kinston right next to the farmer's market, which showed how we were using local food. Now this is the real barbecue line. And on the left is our little food. But it gave us the opportunity to work the line to give out our examples. So you'll see some of the initial reaction. So would you like to try some heart-healthy barbecue? To make people people tried it and they really liked it. I don't know if you can see this as I've eaten Eastern style barbecue all my life. I love it, but I think preparing it this way is just as good. I've tried again. So here's some more happy customers. This time, but he gave us the thumbs up. And we were invited to Robeson County to Lumberton to the Long Beach Homecoming powwow, where we served on one of those 100-degree days. And this was my quote of the day. Oh, that's good. So also barbecue's covered now, so now I'm on the hush puppies. So I took a traditional recipe for hush puppy and added nuts and vegetables. Looks like this, cooked it in some good mixture of olive oil and other kinds, which is good for you, good health. Turns out looking good. You want to serve it with something other than just white bread and fried everything else, but it's a good addition to the meal. So we decided to enter the barbecue festival contest in Kinston, where they were having a contest for the sides, and we competed in that. And actually, you may know about the Chef's Life, which has so Vivian Howard was sponsoring this. So we thought, oh, she'll love our honey puppets, so we'll try this. Turned out she was called away to New York for a big food contest, and so she was not there to taste it. This is us making them. Beets are an important part of our showing off the oil here that we use. And we did a little survey somewhere on our UNC website. If you Google Heart Healthy Lunch, you'll find a little video that's pretty fun. This good response. So now, of course, what about the contest? So we came in second place. How many contestants do you think? Howard is there, I think we might have made it. So. Anyway, that was a bit of a blow to my ego, but the dining hall in Carolina has adopted my recipes, and they served it at the 150 venue is 150 is 100. Actually, some of my colleagues said, Alice, they made a sandwich after you. What they were talking about, but they missed the birth. So they've been promoting that. And then this is the last one. So creative marketing strategies are key to good health. My elderly aunt who lived with us for a long time asked me one time, why is it that you have low-calorie honey, or how do they have that? And so I didn't know what she was talking about. And I looked and saw that it was North Carolina local honey. And I read that. Just have my question.
Question. I see one coming at you.
That was a great presentation. I've got a question though. As a father who's recently toured a number of our universities here in the state, I see an overabundance of fast food-based offerings to the students on campus. What's your plan to bring this home and help campuses actually prepare a lot more offerings that are healthy and tasty for the students?
We work very closely with the Carolina Dining Services actually, and are trying to push that very thing also to eat more locally sourced food. I think we're up to about 14%. I think they're open to doing that, but whenever they try something where they take out some of the favorite foods, they get huge pushback from the kids. So it's a really balancing act. So I think this is true actually with public schools too. I think things are improving more than you might realize. In some of the fast food stuff, salad, that kind of thing, they have some options that are not so bad. So we need to work on it. I want to work on the sugar-sweet beverages. That's the biggest problem when it comes to food. A lot of this food. Yeah.
Why do you think we throw away so much food?
Why do we throw away so much food? Well, you'll hear about some options of what we can do for food that is maybe not the perfect food. Part of it is because we expect things to be totally the same size, unblemished, perfect in the grocery store, and so we won't buy the other stuff. Other things are just transportation, fresh food spoils quickly, hard to do that. There are a lot of reasons. And then people, like in the school cafeterias, it's all you can eat. And I've watched a lot of students crowd it on their plate and then take a few nibbles. And that's going to end up as well.
All right, thank you, Alex. All right, TJ. You got it. It's like a slow jam move lately. Okay, all right. Well, Patrick, Danielle, you guys get to come up to slow jams. Are you guys both coming up at the same time? Okay, all right. Patrick Batier is the CEO and co-founder of Seal the Seasons, the first company in North Carolina to freeze locally grown fruits and vegetables. He's a graduate of UNC Chapel Hill in 2015. Apart from local food, he loves motorcycles, politics, and feminism. Are you single? Hey, single. 2 thumbs up. All right. Daniela, you slammed the game, passionate about using entrepreneurship to solve social issues as a passenger on the Millennial Trains Project, a cross-country train ride that offered entrepreneurial mentorship and networking in 9 cities from San Francisco to DC. Ladies and gentlemen, he is single. Bring up Patrick, and now Daniela to the stage.
Good evening, everybody. As I said, my name is Patrick Batier, CEO and co-founder of Seal the Seasons. At Seal the Seasons, we believe in creating health and wealth for everyone in North Carolina. To start us off is our co-founder, Danielle.
Hi everyone, my name is Daniela Giesland, and my day job is I work at the Center for Health Promotion and Disease Prevention with Alice. I'm a public health researcher. So I'm going to tell you the backstory of Seal the Seasons. I started by taking Alice's social entrepreneurship class, which you mentioned, and I tackled the food issue of food waste and repurposing food that otherwise would be wasted and thinking about how that could be used as a nutritious project. And so a product. And so I had the opportunity to crowdfund $5,000 to join the Millennial Trains Project, where I went across the country to 9 cities and talked to local entrepreneurs about different food systems projects. And I have 2 examples. I'm going to talk about Denver. I discovered a company called Local, and they were recovering local agriculture that was about to be wasted. It was at peak season, and they were canning it. And it's a wildly successful model that was in Whole Foods all over Denver. There's also a market in the food desert that I have a picture of, and they were using local produce and selling it to food stamp recipients using SNAP BT, the mechanism to use your SNAP card. And then in Omaha, table grace cafes and pay-as-you-can restaurants. And then I often talked to local people who were recovering food that was about to be wasted in the supermarket and redistributing it throughout the Omaha community. So I came back to North Carolina and I was really excited about the idea of food preservation and freezing as a technique and recovering local produce, so thinking about how to partner with local farmers. And then I recruited Patrick because he's such a feminist, and we launched a product.
Thank you, Danielle. So we spent about a year developing the idea and learning how we're going to do this as college students didn't know too much about entrepreneurship. We created this really cool model though. We start with the local farmer. We buy thousands of pounds from them in season, way more than they can sell at the farmer's market. These are small farmers, they maybe work at the farmer's market or they don't have access to mainstream markets. We move the food to our facility in Hillsborough where we freeze it. We package it in our Seal Seasons packaging and then store it in freezers to make it available all year round. Now, you can eat delicious North Carolina strawberries in May or broccoli in the fall. You can eat delicious Seal the Seasons North Carolina strawberries every single month. So we started in May. We partnered with Weaver Street Market down there at the bottom left, and we piloted our project. We got some great results with customers, and we froze enough products to have inventory of about 20 stores. We're currently in talks with Whole Foods, hope to be in their stores next month. We all, as I said, had great feedback from customers and are ready to approach some bigger stores. We want to take this model across the state and make local food available all year round, but in turn, help small farmers across the state source their food into these stores. You know, we couldn't get started and successful without collaboration. We're working with the Cedar Street Tyler project that is super helpful. We have a shared use facility in Hillsborough where we don't have to pay any upfront capital costs or facility costs, we just pay an hourly fee. And then we work with a nonprofit in Durham called We'll See Cool to Store Our Produce. We've gotten funding from RAFI, a farmer health organization, and we won a business competition for the prize for innovation from the State Employee Credit Union. Finally, we've got a mentorship from the Cube at UNC and from Launch Chapel Hill, which is an incubator back in Chapel Hill. Our biggest challenge here is working with so many small farmers. We have to coordinate and source their product to our facility, make sure we have produce every day for production, also make sure none of the produce is going bad in the fields, and make sure they can get it to us, logistics. It's really challenging to work with this many small producers because they're not used to working with our markets. But it does create a really cool product, and in the end, we can have some really big impact. This year, we worked with about 15 farmers to create 5 acres of new production. With our big customers across the state, we hope to increase that tenfold and create 50 acres of new agricultural production. And in 2017, move to some other states across the country and create over 200 acres. This doesn't just mean good things for farmers. This means good things for food access too. We're going to donate 20% of our profits to make more food available in low-income areas and try to solve some of the problems that the other speakers are talking about. So thank you for coming out tonight. If you'd like to support us and your local farmers, we have food available in these retailers on your screen. We really love for you to support our product and support our farmers. Thank you.
All right. You are the lucky one.
What produce are you actually buying? Is it random based on whatever the farmer's growing, or do you actually ask them to grow specific things?
Yeah, so we work with farmers between 6 and 12 months in advance of harvest. We contract out, we want to buy 2,000 pounds, we want to buy 2,000 pounds of food. We're doing broccoli, spinach, strawberries, blackberries, and blueberries. Next year, we're going to add sweet potato fries. We also work with some farmers that are too small to contract with, and we source in surplus. So a farmer says, do an extra 250 pounds of strawberries. And we're willing to work with that farmer and take that product.
All right, thank you guys. All right, next up we have Jennifer Hicks, who puts the art in Party and Tart as the special events designer for the museum and as executive pastry chef of Iris Restaurant. An alumni of NC State University, College of Design, and the Culinary Institute of America, Jennifer tries to provide something unexpected on the party floor and in the kitchen by featuring unusual local talents, beautiful linens, exciting decor, and of course, exceptional food. Ladies and gentlemen, please welcome Jennifer Hicks.
Hello. So I'm at the North Carolina Museum of Art in Raleigh. And who's been to the museum?
Yeah.
Awesome. Museum supporters, thank you. At the museum, I've been there for over 20 years in one capacity or another. And I started there just as a line cook a long time ago when I was at State, and left for culinary school, came back, finished at State, and I've kind of changed jobs there a few times. But one thing I'm really passionate about now is events. And with my pastry background, I love to mix in details with all of our special events that I work on. I know this is a lot lighter topic than some of the other stuff. I have no numbers in my presentation, by the way. Not a single number. So here are the numbers. Just kidding. But one of the first projects I wanted to show is that it's not always only about food. A lot of projects that I like to work on work with local businesses. And you may be familiar with Spoon Flour, who I love. And my background at NC State was in fiber and surface design, so obviously Spoon Flour, many of you are unaware, it's a local company that will print fabric, wallpaper, wrapping paper, all that on demand, and they're going international. It's amazing. But just to show the kind of collaboration that happens sometimes, what you see here was a project from our teen council. They had a contest with Spoon Flour to design fabrics based on the Stella Frank Stella painting that's in our collection. And what we did, because this particular dinner was featuring our educators at the museum park, we used those designs for napkins. So you can see napkins all around the table, printed with these fabrics. Something bright, but also something good to talk about. Encouraging students to be into art, encouraging all people to be into local businesses, etc. Also, of course, since it's the holiday season, I thought I would show some funky things that I like to do with events. I'm always looking for new technologies, new things to work with, and I love, this is a cookie cutter that cuts all the pieces for little miniature gingerbread houses at one time. I love that. And this made me think of 3D printing and how a lot of times 3D printing these days, you can print, cookie cutters are like the standard for 3D printers. They're awesome to use when it comes to from a pastry standpoint. And recently we had BetaBox. If you're familiar, BetaBox is a mobile maker lab that features 3D printing, laser cutting, and we talked about some designs like this as well. Another thing I did, a little throwback, I like to throw in special unusual details for our events. Notice the candy buttons on the menu. This was a whole gingerbread theme. Next, this was a little bit unusual. This was a fundraiser we did for the museum several years ago that featured, it was in June, which is late for us, and we thought, well, people are headed out of town, they're probably going to do their summer things, and we'll make kind of a car wash theme, which was really fun. And if you, before you leave, you should stop by and grab one of our sponges, pop-up sponges that were from that event. Actually, they say soak up some culture, which you can do at the museum. I get a little better like that. But for this particular event, I wanted to include a specialty cocktail, which you can see her spraying, which is not Windex, even though it looks like Windex, into a glass for a blue cocktail we had then. And we did a takeaway that was essentially an air freshener, but it was a lemon and lime cookie. I told you this was a light topic. This you can see over on our table. It's really fun. You see the video down here. This is a company that I think is fascinating. They print your images on marshmallows. And it's called Boom. They're out of England. And they're fascinating. We had an exhibition a year ago that was called Small Treasures. And every piece in the collection was under 8.5 by 11. So all smaller than a sheet of paper. Some very small, just a couple of inches. And I thought, what better way to feature this at our opening event than to print on something that's only an inch or two in size. So actually the pieces that are in the box are not that much smaller than the actual images that were in the collection. So that was a fun way to use that. When I heard about this topic of Food 2.0, I automatically thought of technology in food. And so, you know, obviously people are always coming up with fun, bizarre ways to use technology to do fun things with food and important things for our bodies. This image is, well, first, 3 guys in tutus. Yeah, I love that. This was from when we built the new building in 2010. We had a big event, and I'll be quick. Anyway, this is an image showing how we pixelated this image of Panama girls and did it with chocolate. So they're giving away chocolate, so we're hand painting for the event. And this is one of our most recent things that's coming up. I'll scan through this pretty quick, but there's a Kickstarter campaign, and recently in October, we had the inventor of the Pancake Bot come to Raleigh and bring his prototypes that he made for his daughters originally out of Legos. And we actually had an event where we did this with Escher, MC Escher Tessellations. MC Escher is the exhibition that we have in the museum right now. So in this case, you see them making all these different designs. And these were some of the tessellations from the actual event. It's really fascinating to watch it. It actually sounds like it's full of tiny robots making it. It's awesome. And this is just another quick one. I'll let you see a couple seconds of it. It's the first animated pancakes, which is hysterical. And this was with his daughters. I wish I could fast forward through a little bit of this, but it is what it is. Soon enough, we will actually own 2 of the pancake bots at the museum, so you can come to events and experience it for yourself, or design them for yourself and see what it looks like. These are his 2 adorable daughters that came with him when he came to October. But he's animated pancakes. Notice the sun in the background, Friday. So awesome. And the fence is taken, by the way. So cool stuff that you can do with food technology. And finally, I hope you enjoyed it. A couple of gingerbread people.
All right, question. Come on, one question. Let's go with once, twice. Does the horse eat the fence? No?
I hate fence.
We go. Oh, I'm sorry. Right here. Here we go.
Are the both marshmallows gelatin free?
I doubt it, but I'm sure you can find out on their website. I would ask them, it's possible that they do that. And if they don't now, I'm sure if you say something to them about it, they'll consider it. Seems like things are moving that direction.
All right, thank you, Jennifer. All right, next up we have Robin Ingersoll. Robin is a holistic nutritionist, and then told you I went to NC her. Wow, it's been a long day. It's hot here. I would TCU, no big words. Integrative health coach. She also worked many years in sales for the health insurance industry. Currently, she works at a company called Rewire Inc. as a rewirist, providing workshops, coaching, and retreats to companies and individuals that focus on transformational thinking through understanding the science of the mind. Woo! Ladies and gentlemen, please welcome Robin.
Okay, I'm just going to get right to it. Jumping from fun and lighthearted to kind of heavy, I'm here to talk to you all today about food addiction. So when I knew I was going to be doing this talk on food addiction, I went out and posted it on my Facebook account so my friends and family know. And I have an uncle who's a physics professor at Cornell, so he's a pretty smart guy, as you can imagine, and pretty witty. So he responded to my Facebook and said, well, good luck with the talk, hope it goes well. And, maybe you can help me. I think I'm addicted to food. I can't live without it. So that's a common response people often get when they hear food addiction. How can we be addicted to something that we need to survive? Well, I'm here to talk to you today about some of the new science that actually does show that some of us can get addicted to food. So first, let's talk about the definition of addiction. There's lots of different definitions out there. What I did is I took some of the 3 main components of behavior that could be described as addictive. So if the person would have to engage in something that's compulsive, the behavior is reinforcing, it's rewarding and pleasurable, and there's a loss of control in limiting intake. And I think most of you could agree that when it comes to food, many of us have this issue. So to understand food addiction, it helps to understand the process of hunger and appetite. So the human body is a really cool machine, and for a long, long time, it had a new process in place where when you were hungry, or when you hadn't eaten in several hours, some of your neurotransmitters, like dopamine and serotonin specifically, the neurotransmitters are chemicals that make us feel good. They start to drop. And when they start to drop, we start to feel agitated and maybe tired and grumpy. That also can trigger a cascade of other hormones that kick in that cause hunger, maybe hunger pains, and grumbling in your stomach. And all of that works to drive us to go find food so that we can put nutrients in our body and survive. Once we find food, the minute it touches our tongue, we have receptors in our tongue that actually send messages to the brain to raise our dopamine and serotonin pickup so that we feel comfortable and satisfied. And that's what completes the process. So this has worked very well for a very long time, but something's changed recently that's hijacked the system. Do you know what it is? Chocolate cake. Okay, no, it's not chocolate cake. Chocolate cake is just a good example of some of the changes that have occurred in our food system, our food supply today, that play a role in causing or triggering food addiction for many of us. So the food that we eat today can be excessively high in fats, sugars, salts, and added chemicals that play a role in raising our neurotransmitters like dopamine and serotonin to a higher than normal natural level, which can be similar to the effect of drugs and alcohol. It's not as high as that, but it's a similar reaction. So how'd you feel when you saw that? Do you have a lot of cravings now for broccoli? Probably not, right? That's because broccoli, our brain is associated more blandness with broccoli. Broccoli doesn't have added salt or extra sugars or fats or chemicals like MSG or flavor enhancers added to it. And so part of the reason we know now how the brain is reacting to certain foods is we have these really cool tools like functional MRIs, where we can look in to see what's happening with the brain. This is a nice illustration to show a normal, healthy subject's brain, a person who's used cocaine for a long time, and then the brain of an obese person. And what we are finding is, in a normal picture, the red represents dopamine receptors. With people who use drugs for a long period of time, and now we're finding with people who are obese or habitual or high intake eaters, what happens is those dopamine receptors start to diminish or shut down. And the reason is because over long periods of time, a dopamine rush or high levels of dopamine, the brain tries to protect itself and it starts to close those receptors down. And when that happens, when we start to get less dopamine receptors, our brain starts to create more of that substance so that we can feel good again, so that we can get back to that high. And again, we're finding that food is creating this same cycle. So how can we break this cycle of food addiction or food cravings? One way is to balance your blood sugar. Eat food at regular intervals. Try to eat more protein and fat and less simple carbs. Cut down or eliminate sugar, artificial sweeteners, processed food foods that are high in sugar, salt, and fat. It's 7 to 8 hours of sleep. We find that a rested brain is better able to handle cravings. Try supplements. There's less supplements out here now that can help curb cravings. Check in with your wife. A lot of us are stressed or depressed, and oftentimes we use food for comfort. And then finally, try to find other activities that we can have. We know that a lot of different activities can raise dopamine to a healthy level, where you still feel that reward or that high, but not as high as the drug or food. And then lastly, I just want to leave a little bit of hope when it comes to food addiction. Food addiction has become a real condition today. And like I said, it's a relatively new phenomenon, and a lot of it is triggered on the new food that food supply today. So the good news is that people are demanding changes in our food supply, and we're getting healthier options. And I know that if you have the right support and information, you'll be able to make healthier choices too. Thank you.
All right. One question. Here we go. Here we go.
How long does it take to break a food addiction cycle?
So that's a great question, and it can vary person to person. It depends on the work you're doing, it depends on the problem, it depends on other health factors that are going on. So unfortunately, it's not you break it in 10 days. There's a common thought out there that usually 2 weeks. If you tend to, you can cleanse the palate when it comes to food addiction, take away a lot of those excessive salts, fats, sugars, especially sugar. Usually in around 2 weeks, you hopefully break the cycle, but it does vary.
All right, one more. See your hand.
Is the condition of the brain permanent, or would it recover in time?
So when it comes to food addiction, right now we're pretty hopeful that it can recover. But we do kind of create neural pathways over time. So the more that we do take in a substance like sugar, for example, the more we can kind of rewire our brain. But like I said at the end of my talk, there is some hope that we can rewire it and teach the chemicals to be receptive to things like different activities, healthier activities instead of sugar. And over time, if we can bring that level back down, that we can get balance. Okay, thank you.
All right. All right, one more. We have one more. Leave it to the one to talk about the topic food to drop the clicker, but to go long, and it was probably because of my 15-minute intro. So I apologize about that. We have Smithfields right outside the door, and we've been hearing about food for the last hour. So, all right, Ben, you ready, Ben? There he is. Ben Chapman is an associate professor and food safety specialist at NC State University. With not playing or coaching hockey, he uses various strategies to reduce the risk of people getting sick from the food they eat. Ladies and gentlemen, please help me welcome Ben to the stage.
Well, I have the unenviable task of standing between you and dinner. And literally, the longer I wait, the less safe it gets. So, if it matters, we have like 4 hours. So I'm happy to talk for that long, but I don't think you'll last. So here's, I guess, what gets me out of bed every morning, and literally, this is what I do. I kind of live and breathe food safety. I run a blog called Bar Blog. I'm a professor at NC State, and my goal, what I like to do, is really just to talk to people and get people to talk about food safety issues. And for me, it's really one thing that I focus on when it comes to food safety, because we all have different definitions or ideas around what makes safe food. But for me, it's about bacteria and viruses that lead to illnesses. And so the slide I've got here, you know, most of you, and not most of you, about a sixth of you are going to get sick this year. Hopefully not tonight. We get about 48 million cases of foodborne illness a year in the United States, 1 in 6 people. Leads to 128,000 hospitalizations and 3,000 deaths. For the most part, you know, you look at those numbers, I got numbers, 3,000 denominator, 48 million, it's not a whole bunch, not a large percentage of the people that end up dying or even hospitalized. But it's enough that it really matters and gets me kind of going. That's my passion. I work with restaurants, I work with grocery stores, I work with consumers largely around food safety issues. And a lot of the things that we focus on are, what do we do to reduce the likelihood that someone's going to get sick? To give you a sense of what makes people sick, I had a chance to fly. So I've got 2 kids, 5-year-old and a 7-year-old, and my wife and I got to leave them here in North Carolina and travel back to Canada and fly without them, which was a treat in itself. That's where I'm from, is Canada, if you haven't been able to tell from my accent. We were at REU and went to, a smart thing to do in the morning. My colleague Alice, who works on nutritional, loved this story. For breakfast, we decided we'd go to Five Guys. It's awesome. It's really good food. My wife and I decided we'd go there. I ordered, a burger that we split, so it was a little bit healthy. And as I was walking with our tray, with 2 Diet Cokes and waiting for our burger, I found myself like parallel to the ground. For a moment, I couldn't process exactly what was going on, and I fell. And my wife, who is not always my favorite person, but that was the greatest thing she'd ever seen. And these folks went all over someone else's table, and she literally could not breathe because she was so excited about this. And so the people that I spilled the drinks on were really concerned about what happened, and they were like, "Hey, are you okay? Someone was mopping something up, that's why I was wet." And I was really pissed off. But then they said, "Should we tell them?" They're talking to each other, like, "Should we tell them?" And I was like, what else could go wrong in this situation? And then they proceeded to tell me that why the floor was wet because someone had vomited on the floor. And then I slipped in it, which is ironic because I work in vomit and diarrhea. And so that kind of event that happens is literally what leads to half of those 48 million cases. Something called norovirus, which this time of year is the most prevalent thing that people get sick from. I'm sure many of you, some of you probably have it right now. It leads to about half those illnesses. And in fact, if you've been following any little bit of news that's not Star Wars related, you'll see that Chipotle is dealing with a whole bunch of things, including one norovirus outbreak in Boston. That outbreak is linked to a food handler who worked at Chipotle that showed up to work and started to handle food with foodborne illness symptoms. So my job, my focus, everything that I do is really to try to figure out how do we get that 18 to 30-year-old individual that was handling those burritos to not show up to work to handle food. And that is, I wish it was easy. It's not. We got a lot of issues when it comes to foodborne illness. We have that every vomit event leads to, sometimes sounds like that. Every vomit event ends up, if you have norovirus, putting out somewhere in between 1 million and 1 billion virus particles. And it only takes somewhere in between 10 and 20 on average to make someone sick. And it aerosolizes, and it moves. And all of these things literally were going through my head as those individuals told me, "You just slipped up in norovirus." It's one thing, that I focus on. There's lots of other things, coli, salmonella, that all lead to these. But my message for you tonight is there are lots of really great things that happen in food, and all of the things that folks are talking about are really, really, really positive and great things. The goal for me is to help everyone here and everyone there make sure that it doesn't make people sick. Thank you very much, and enjoy your
I was gonna say, one way to keep people from not getting up early is to have the guy in with food, illness, diarrhea, vomiting, all that. I see a question over here. If we have time for 2, and then I will get you guys out of here to get some lovely food.
salad bar.
I love them, but I get turned off.
It's a great question of how safe. I love them, but I get turned off. I won't comment on your excitement over salad bars. And the standard microbiology answer to that is it depends. It really depends on a lot of factors. It depends on what's on that salad bar. We know that tomatoes that are cut and leafy greens like lettuce, kale, if we don't hold those at temperatures below 41 degrees, they will grow pathogens if those pathogens are there. So it depends on whether there were pathogens there, whether the temperature of that salad bar was at the right temperature. And if it wasn't at the right temperature, whether what was on that salad bar was only there less than 4 hours. That's one factor. The second factor is, and I mentioned I got kids who are 5 and 7 who are like really bad disease generators, and mainly because they like can't wash their hands very well and touch a lot of stuff. My one kid's like hands down his pants all the time. Look, he's not here. But then he goes and touches, I don't know which salad bars you frequent. But people like that then just go and touch all those handles and transfer pathogens Fortunately, it's a dilution effect. It only takes about 10% of the pathogens from my hand to that handle. So there's a lot there, then there's going to be something there. And then when you grab that handle, you go and wash your hands. Afterwards, you're going to reduce your risk. But really, it's two factors, and it's hard to say whether it's good or not. There are really great salad bars, and there are probably some really bad ones.
My name's Seth. I'm on the other side of this, and then I own a restaurant.
Oh, awesome.
Yeah.
I work in restaurants all the time.
I'd like to let you all know we have a 100-point sanitation score before I begin this conversation. But I have a real question for you. Thank you. The question is this. What do you think is the best way to respond when I get one of those lovely emails, it happens 2 or 3 times a year, where someone says, I ate at your restaurant an hour ago, I'm homesick now, you made me get blah, 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 it's your fault. And I'm thinking, hundreds of people ate here, no one is sick. People in their mind think of the last thing they ate 10 minutes ago that made them sick, not that they touched a door handle this morning getting coffee and there was norovirus on it, or last night when they were out with friends and someone, how do you, basically, as the owner of the restaurant, I'm in a really tough spot because I could tell you at that point that the sky is blue and you're going to say, there is no way the sky is blue because you made me sick. What do you think is the nicest way to respond to somebody when they're so emphatically certain?
I think you highlighted the issue really well. I think all you can say is, I'm really sorry that you got sick, and I'd love to have you again for a meal on me or whatever. I don't know your business model. But you're exactly right that people often associate what they last ate, what they vomited up, what they led to that last diarrhea event. Sorry, it's recorded. That's what caused it, and often it's not. Most of the pathogens I talked about, norovirus has got 24 to 48 hour incubation period. So you're looking 2 days, maybe. Hepatitis A is like 50 days, as scary as like 2 months. You don't know how long it was that made you sick, but I think you're in a really, really tough spot. And all I can really say is, we're going to look into this. There weren't any other illnesses that were associated with the meal that you ate. We're really sorry that you had a bad experience. But from a science standpoint, it's probably not you.
Well, thank you all, both presenters, and you all for coming this evening. Tonight wraps up another, what I think is a great year of 180. If you take the amount of ticket sales over the whole year, we've had about 4,000 people come through this building for 180. So we greatly appreciate you guys supporting us, doing this. Next year, we have some fun things planned. We're going to spice it up a little bit because it is an election year. We might do some friendly debates one evening, maybe Eastern versus Western barbecue. What's the best university in the state? We'll have some fun with that. I can see that, yes, we're already having some debates already, but just hold those until next year. We're also going to start doing, I don't have too many details on this, but like preferred and VIP tickets. I'm not sure what they're going to do with that yet, but be on the lookout for those. And I have good news and I have bad news, and they're both the same. I will be here next year to sign another 1-year deal with me. But I will say that I might do my farewell tour next year, so we will see. I've been doing this for 3 years, and that'll make the 4th year, so who knows? We'll see what happens after year 4 wraps up. With that, please enjoy yourselves, have some food. Don't try to cough in it or do anything like that, but enjoy yourselves. Thank you all so much for coming.